Hello, beautiful friends and fellow word lovers. Welcome back to Pocket of Poetry. My name is Olivia, and today I am going to be sharing with you guys my April TBR for the 8 Books, 8 Genres challenge. So April is an exciting month for a few reasons. One, because it's spring and the weather is finally getting warm here, and I'm super happy about that. And also because it is my birthday month. And for my birthday month, I just wanted to do something fun with my reading. I wanted to read more than I've been reading in past months, for one, and I also wanted to just pick some really fun books that I knew I was going to enjoy and that I knew I was going to be excited for. So these are all books that have been on my TBR for a little while, books that I've been anticipating reading for a while. Do a fun challenge, and I was thinking about doing a readathon or making up my own readathon or something for the month of April, but I was not really into it. I wasn't really sure if anyone would do it with me. And then I was scrolling through Instagram and I found this hashtag 8 Books, 8 Genres challenge, and it sounded so intriguing and fun to me. So basically, it's what the title says. You just pick 8 books in 8 different genres that you want to read, and just whatever genres you choose. So I just thought that would be a really fun challenge and a fun way to kind of spice up my reading for the month of April. I've never done a monthly TBR video on my channel before. This is going to be the first one. So I'm excited to show you guys a little haul. I purchased a ton of books for this month, you guys, more than I usually do. Usually I'm a little bit more strict with myself on my book budget, but I kind of just splurged a little bit because I was like, it's my birthday month. So I splurged a little bit and I got myself 5 books this month. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of give you guys a little haul and show you which books I ended up purchasing. But before I do that, I'm going to start with the non-physical books that I'm going to be reading this month. So I will just hop right into that now. Okay, so book number 1, Confession. I actually already finished reading this one. I started it the last few days of March and I finished it yesterday. Today is April 3rd as I'm filming this. So I technically finished it in April, so I'm counting it as an April book. But that book is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. When I went into this book, I initially thought it was a romance, and I think you're kind of supposed to think that, but it does subvert your expectations, and it ends up not really being a romance, not really being a book about, or at least not a romance-centered book, which I really actually liked how they subverted expectations in this book. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you guys my thoughts on it. I'll save that for my wrap-up, but basically the concept of this book is we follow Danny Cohen, our main character, a high-power lawyer living in New York City, and she just recently got engaged to the man she's been dating for years and landed this super successful position at a law firm. And then she falls asleep one night and wakes up 5 years into the future, and she's in a different apartment with a different guy, and she spends 5 minutes in the future with this different apartment and this different guy, and then wakes up back again in the present. And so it's kind of about how her decisions and her views of her life are affected over the next 5 years as she wonders what this means and why this happened and tries to make sense of it all. So I don't know, the concept, the premise of the book sounded super intriguing to me, which is why I decided to pick it up. So yeah, I won't go into anything more about that, but that is my first book of April. Okay, the second book, the genre for this one is YA fantasy, and I'm going to be reading, actually I already started it, but I'm going to be reading City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. You guys know I read City of Bones last month, and I actually did a full review on it on my channel, and I'm kind of low-key obsessed with the series now. So I'm reading the second book, and it's really good so far. So yeah, I'm loving the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and I'm probably just going to keep reading all of them. But yeah, City of Ashes is my YA fantasy pick for this month. Okay, book number 3 is another one that I've already started. I started it in March, but my goal is to finish it this month in April, and that is Middlemarch by George Eliot. The genre for that one is the classic, so that's going to be my classic for this month. Middlemarch so far is really, really good. I'm super enjoying it. It's such a fun story. It's a really, really big book, but it's a book about just a small community in England in the 1800s, and just different characters that populate it, and their adventures and kind of how their society intermingles and the different dynamics between the different members of the society and the different people. So it's just a really fun story overall. It was hard to get into a little bit at first, but honestly, it's just so good, and the writing is excellent, and it's really funny. I think George Eliot is hilarious. This is my first book I've read by George Eliot, but I think she's really funny. So that is my third book. Okay, now that I've gotten those out of the way, I'm going to be showing you guys my book haul of all the physical books that I bought for April, and I'm so excited about them. So without further ado, the first book that I'm going to show you guys, and potentially maybe the next book that I'm going to read, I haven't really decided for sure yet, but that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. The genre for this one is mystery. I googled what genre this book is. I know it's like a contemporary literary fiction, but it's also a mystery, so that is the genre that I'm using this one for. The back description of the book is super nondescript. It doesn't really tell you a whole lot. All you really know is that there's a group of college students at an elite New England university who kind of, under the influence of their professor, form like a secret society, maybe kind of a little bit cult vibes. And I think there's a murder in this book as well. So that's all I really know about it. I'm going in pretty blind, and I'm really, really excited because I've seen so much about this book all over the internet. And I know it's like the ultimate dark academia book, and I've just been obsessed with the whole dark academia vibe recently. So I'm really excited for this, like really excited. I can't wait to tell you guys what I think. Okay, the next book, the genre is literary fiction. I just went with really vague because that was really all I knew. I don't really know enough about this book to really say much more about it. But that is The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin. I think the cover on this is gorgeous. So pretty. I love this gold with the black and then the colors on the tree, the fall sort of aesthetic. I'm just gonna read you guys the back description because I feel like it'll be more effective than me trying to describe the plot. So it's 1969 in New York City's Lower East Side, and word has spread of the arrival of a mystical woman, a traveling psychic who claims to be able to tell anyone the day they will die. The Gold Children, 4 adolescents on the cusp of self-awareness, sneak out to hear their fortunes. The prophecies inform their next 5 decades. Golden boy Simon escapes to the West Coast searching for love in 80s San Francisco. Dreamy Clara becomes a Las Vegas magician obsessed with blurring reality and fantasy. Eldest son Daniel struggles to maintain security as an army doctor post 9/11. And bookish Varia throws herself into longevity research where she tests the boundary between science and immortality. So there's so many things to love about that book description. Like, I am so excited for this book. I actually initially picked this up because of Kiera Foster's Best Books of 2020 video, or I initially put this on my TBR because of that. She said it was one of her favorite books of 2020, and I feel like I have really similar taste in books to her. So I was really excited about this one. And I love stories about families and siblings, and I love stories that have like multiple interesting characters with multiple POVs. That's like my favorite kind of book. So I'm just like really excited for this and really excited to get to know all these different characters. Also, I love that it's like the time period that it's set in, like late 60s to the 80s, like I guess to the early 2000s because post 9/11. So yeah, basically it spans a lot of decades, but it sounds really good. And I love books that span like a long period of time with a lot of characters. I think they're so fun. So I'm really excited for this one. I think this one's going to become a new favorite. I'm really hoping. And just look at that cover. Like, come on. It's gorgeous. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the next one, I know I already have a YA fantasy on my list, but this one is technically considered an adult fantasy, so technically it's a different genre, okay? And that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Guys, I'm so excited for this one. Oh my gosh. So if you watched my wrap up, you know that The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I read it last month. It was my first V.E. Schwab book, and it just made me hungry for more of her books because I've heard so many great things about them. And I've especially heard great things about the Darker Shade of Magic series. I know that it is like a really popular fantasy series, and I'm just really excited to read this. I'm hoping to get it read in April. I want to read it with my husband. I think it would be really fun because we've been reading like all the Grishaverse books together, and I think it would be really fun to read this one with him. I've been so obsessed with fantasy recently, so I'm really excited to dive into another fantastical world. Also, I love the cover. I'm sorry, but all the books that I've purchased recently, I'm like obsessed with the covers of them. Just, I love this aesthetic. I love the coloring. I love the little pop of like red and black on the spine. Like, so pretty. Okay, so the next book I think is considered a YA contemporary. So I have like an adult contemporary with literary fiction with The Immortalists, and I have like a YA contemporary with this one, which is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I think you've probably seen this book around on the internet if you're anywhere in the online book community. This one's pretty popular, and I've been seeing it in a lot of places, and it sounds so good. So I am like beyond excited to read this one. It's about a young teen mom and kind of just like the financial difficulties and struggles that she goes through being a young teen mom. And I think she works to support herself and her grandmother and her daughter, but she dreams about being a chef and cooking, and like the kitchen is her dream place to be. And I think it's a book about a young woman overcoming obstacles and trying to live her dreams, which just overall just sounds so good. And I think books about young moms are really inspiring and really cool as well. So just overall, the whole vibe of this book I love. Also, just look how fun and cute the cover is, and I just have to show you guys the back. The back is so cute with all the little fruits on it. It's adorable. I love it. So I'm really excited about this one. I bought this one. This was like my bonus book that I bought for myself because I just was like, I don't know, I want to do this for my 8 books, 8 genres challenge, and I just think it'll be really fun. So yeah. Okay, the last book that I'm going to be showing you guys is my nonfiction book for the month, and it is also a memoir, so that's like a little bit more specific on the genre. But that book is On Her Knees by Brenda Marie Davies. And this book I pre-ordered actually a little while ago, and it just came out just in time for me to do this challenge, which I'm quite happy about. A little bit of background on this one. So Brenda Davies, the author of this book, is actually she actually runs a YouTube channel called God is Gray, and in her YouTube channel she talks about progressive Christianity. She grew up in an evangelical religious environment, and she's always had a very strong faith and a very strong belief in God. It's kind of driven her throughout her life, but as she got older, she noticed a lot of toxic things, and she was just negatively affected in a lot of ways by religious culture, and she's a really big advocate against purity culture, which, if you don't know what purity culture is, basically just in certain religious, and specifically in evangelical religious circles, it's kind of the narrative that especially towards young girls, that if they lose their virginity, or they're no longer a virgin, that they've given up a piece of themselves, or that they're less than, or that they're dirty, or that they're impure, and it's just a very like toxic, just it furthers a lot of really negative views about self, about sexuality, just about life in general, if we're being real. So she talks a lot about purity culture on her channel. She also talks about a lot of different social issues, from like Black Lives Matter to like abortion and trans rights, all kinds of different things. So if you're interested in that at all, I would really recommend checking out her channel. I'll actually link it down below. But this book is her memoir, and it is called On Her Knees, Memoir of a Prayerful Jezebel, which I just love. I think it's just, oh, she's so cool. But I'll read you guys the description just because I kind of want to show you what it's about. So, going to a conservative Christian church when she was young, Brenda Marie Davies heard a consistent message: save yourself for marriage. That instilled in her fear and shame about sex. But after moving to Los Angeles at 19 and finding herself suddenly exposed to a world far outside her comfort zone, she was forced to wrestle with the power and perversity of Christian purity culture. On Her Knees chronicles Brenda's spiritual journey over the course of a decade in LA, through marriage, divorce, unlikely friendship, and sexual exploration. Through it all, she began tearing down the false idol of purity while refusing to abandon her faith. That is book number 8 for me for April. So that is my 8 books, 8 genres challenge. Let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you have any of these books on your TBR, and which book you think I should pick to read next, because I'm still trying to decide, because there's just so many good options here, and I'm really happy about it. That's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you feel like it, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye!